Eden, Part 1. A Scientological lab called Eden, holographic laboratory nicknamed Heaven but the Hell. Injections of pain, suffering, shame, and fear. Scenarios implanted with cosmic and planetary saviors. Walls of virtual reality made of mirrors. That's why you can't see outside, they reflect back to you the suffering in which you are kept and which you generate. Extraction use of zero-point energy generated by soul beings. By activating or bringing into unison three factors: gravity, energy, and magnetism. These are what creates universes and realities, time, space, and solidity. The goal being to form and maintain an existential sphere that becomes habitable space for a certain type of entity. Fear, shame, suffering, and pain are exactly what these entities feel, and in order to maintain their status quo, they need the specific energy that keeps their existential sphere in manifestation. That is why they inject this list of ingredients into the human spiritual field, so that the zero-point energy to which the human pattern has access creates and maintains in manifestation the space-time sphere in which these entities exist. In order to keep human energy captive, active, and focused in a specific direction, the scenarios of cosmic and planetary saviors and redeemers were introduced. The hope is necessary to multiply and refine different types of hope. Different types of messiahs. You have sins. You have made mistakes. You are not pure or worthy enough. That is why you suffer, and that is why you must suffer. All of this is necessary if you wish to reach heaven. Wait, have faith. The Messiah will come and save you. And when the Messiah comes riding on a Blu-ray horse labeled Mercy, he will come to extract your human experience, that of guilt, pain, fear, suffering, and shame, in a word, trauma, that has been cultivated in the vessel called time and space along with the essence. Just like bacteria and mold are multiplied under a microscope, in a laboratory, in a petri dish. On that dish is written confusion. On the hand that handles the scoop is written hope. On the hand that handles the scalpel is written guilt. Fear and guilt are the two ways in which humanity is trained. Fear is induced especially in the male subconscious, in order to be manipulated for the purpose of applying force over others. Guilt is induced in women, especially to tame their natural and innate need for independence and expression. A man tamed by fear will obey the orders of his superiors and consider this to be the supreme virtue, and when this is taken to the extreme, there will be no filter of conscience in the execution of those orders. In the case of women, guilt leads to blockage and complacency. They will lie to themselves that they are protected, and that they are fine as they are, but secretly, they hate other women who are more emancipated. What results from this is a smoldering inner conflict, both with themselves but especially with the other smarter ones. Ultimately, guilt turns into fear. Fear of others, fear of one's own body, fear of one's own natural needs. And fear turns into guilt, inner guilt, that you are not good enough, competitive enough, ambitious enough, orderly enough, that you are not muscular enough in the face of challenges. Even if that challenge is just a disobedient child, or a frail woman protecting her children, but you have a machine gun and orders from above, and you are someone. The propagation of trauma through fear and guilt gives birth to monsters that the system needs in order to perpetuate itself, to survive. And, in the end, we will have a man trained by fear who does not recognize his guilt for allowing himself to be manipulated, and a woman trained by guilt who has turned her fear into virtue. Humanity is sick with the entire spectrum of psychomental and behavioral aberrations resulting from this training and complacency. Of course, society offers various forms of escape from inner conflict, sexual emancipation, aberrant nationalism, racial hatred, televised boxing matches, wars and revolutions live on TV, etc. But it is a controlled escape, cultivated and exploited by the same scriptwriters whom you have allowed to shape your essence, especially through education. From early childhood, believing that they want what is best for you. But the absolute good is a poisoned utopia, especially when it comes from authorities, from specialists, and even from friends. But the sad and cruel truth is that the universe is cruel. What if the language we use, for example English, both spoken and written, actually keeps the matrix network running? According to certain sources, it seems that English has reptilian origins. And if we take this further, successive sounds spoken in a certain order, corresponding to the letters in a word, modulate the auric frequency in such a way that the human energy field, i.e., the mental, psychic, and etheric body, is compatible with a certain type of extraterrestrial entity. Perhaps this is why there are so many languages. Each culture or people received an alien entity in its morphic field, and this entity or race is maintained and sustained precisely by the fact that we think and speak in a certain way. According to Prof. Corrado Malanga, the god of the Jewish people is a mantis religiosa, mantinda, entity, or hive entity. That is why, if we use Kabbalistic gematria, the words Kabbalah, Kodek, and Beelzebub, we get the same value, 292. In short, the type of language we use keeps us in a certain state of compatibility with a certain type, or types, of entities. We basically use a code without realizing it, a code intentionally implemented in and through language, an access key for these non-human influences. That is why we see ourselves as separate from one another, and not as a united race, because certain types of alien entities keep us divided by implementing certain mental, linguistic, and behavioral patterns so that they can continue to benefit from a certain type of emotional or other energy. Space and time are the bars of the cage in which human energy is raised. In a healthy and normal civilization based on trust and truth, on love, money would be unnecessary because sustainability lies in the exchange of energy itself. That is why we now see individuals who, in reality, steal time and energy, your time and energy, and turn them into money. Your time and energy have become the currency of exchange. This was also the purpose of money, a trick that supports the system built around a single goal: theft. In short, we work and they take our money, that is, our time and energy. But what do they do with that time and energy? Well, they postpone the inevitable by delaying your own awareness, keeping you busy and lacking sufficient energy. That's why so much money, meaning time and energy, is invested in stupid activities that keep the population's your attention focused on unimportant and childish things. If the population is asleep and tired, the universe offers a reprieve, which they take advantage of. The idea is being spread that the world is run by some powerful and tough individuals. In reality, it's a matter of a number of weak and fearful individuals, with a major spiritual energy deficit but with a clever mind. All law enforcement forces, the secret services, and even the military have become a repressive apparatus used against the population, a defensive circle, a buffer zone, with which these weak and fearful individuals surround themselves to stay safe from the people. The army and the police do not serve you, but them, under the guise of patriotism and defending the homeland, using laws made by them, for them. They are not elected by the people, as is commonly believed, but have chosen one another because the ballot does not state that you, your personal name and signature, have chosen someone, but is merely a worthless piece of paper with a stamp on it. If your name and signature were next to the name of the elected candidate, then it would resemble a contract that they would be forced to honor, which is exactly what they don't want. If the vote were by name and not secret, then we would know very clearly who voted for whom, and there would be no more fraud. This is precisely why, under the guise of democracy and freedom of expression, we have secret and universal suffrage. They have no contract with the people but with the corporations they serve, including the police, the military, the secret services, and all other state institutions. They make decisions in my name, in your name, regarding the general welfare, but in reality, no one has given them this right or permission. In fact, they call the tune and we dance, not the other way around. But only the impression has been created that they serve the common good, and people still live under this foolish spell. In reality, they serve only themselves, through the entire system, aided by the legislative and judicial systems. Since people have started to catch on and get bored with their stories and tricks, they will bring out their final deception, chaos, and divine intervention, or an alien invasion and world order in the face of the threat. Matrix equal to my tricks. That is all about. Where my is everyone, just to play a game with yourself. The only way to reach that point is to create a mirror in which you project countless images about yourself, forgetting that the mirror is just a way to trick yourself because there is nobody else in the universe, just you. The only rule of the game is what is happening if, so the matrix in itself is a result of an intention, the tragedy of being alone in your own world. There is no force of evil, it is only self-denial that seeks to be fed by the same being that created it. Because there are too many ways in which we are not aware of our unaware, the universe is slapping us frantically. Every tendency to avoid the void gives birth to an archon. This is why demons fear hell and saints fear Higadi, each of them avoiding the incomprehensible, the true nature, the essence. There is another law, the other side of the coin, the law of no. The law of repulsion. This is how a magnet works. It has two poles, yes and no, one that attracts, and one that repels. The toroid of the human and planetary energy field, with all its more or less dense layers, is a coil capacitor in which the dynamics of the oscillation of the polarity of manifestation of intention produces energy. Doubt means stagnant energy, that is, illness. That is why you must say yes when you need to say yes and say no when you need to say no. And silence is a way of saying something, and it works as an accumulator and transmuter of energy on another level. That is, it refines it, just as energy has several layers depending on where and how intention is focused. Mental, sexual, emotional energy, in reality, energy is only one, like light with its spectrum. What matters is the instrument with which you read its content and what you want to extract or reveal from it. The mastery of giving kicks in the ass lies in the art of always being ready to receive one when you least expect it, and especially from whom you least expect it. This will create a permanent inner tension that will make you laugh at all the nonsense that goes through your head, which will recover the energy lost in devastating emotions and poisonous mental loops. Only at that moment will a slap, a word, or a caress have an overwhelming impact on the recipient, because all your energy will go to that point, breaking energy blockages that may have been there for generations. Many ask themselves, why am I here? Well, precisely for this reason, to reconnect to the true network, the magical network, through lucid and guided dreaming, stalking, and mastery of consciousness. But for this you have to give up a lot. What consumes your energy unnecessarily, that is, exactly what the grid mesh is made of. Vices, chaotic emotions, TV, mental loops, borrowed and unconscious behavior, foolish sex, foolish eating, foolish thinking. The energy consumed in all this is immense. If you stop all of this, the level of energy recovered will automatically connect you to the truth. It is about using intention to transform thinking into imagination, feelings and emotions into inspiration, and instincts into intuition. Then this refined energy becomes fuel for the next cycle described above, in which intention becomes even more fired up pure energy. At that moment, you will notice that the level of physical and mental degradation stops, and spiritual energy sharpens like a sword, forged in the fire of intention, and under the hammer strokes of will.